largely when you talk about SNAP, you're talking about largely Democrats. But I'm president. I want to help everybody. I want to help Democrats and Republicans. But when you're talking about SNAP, if you look, it's largely Democrats. They're hurting their own people.
While Americans prepare to go hungry, Trump decides to go partisan in order to convince his supporters not to care that people will lose their benefits. Here are some of the stats on SNAP to see if it's largely Democrats like he claims. Among all congressional districts, SNAP recipients made up an average of 10.9% of households in Republican-held districts and 13.8% in Democratic-held districts. And overall, Democrats represented nearly 8.5 million SNAP households, and Republicans more than 7 million. Separately, rural counties, which voted overwhelmingly for Trump, are more likely to be disproportionately affected by any interruptions to SNAP. And a 2024 analysis by Political Explorer, a data research company, found that more than 2,000 counties out of more than 3,000 reported an increase in the number of households receiving SNAP from 2010 to 2020. Mr. Trump won nearly 80% of those counties in that presidential election. Now, on Friday, a judge told the Trump administration that they must continue to pay SNAP despite the shutdown. Judge Jack McConnell, who directed that those food stamp benefits be paid out of emergency funds as soon as possible. And here's what he said. There is no doubt, and it is beyond argument, that irreparable harm will begin to occur if it hasn't already occurred in the terror it has caused some people about the availability of funding for food for their family, Judge Jack McConnell said. Trump then posted this, pretending he'd love to fund SNAP, but his hands are tied. Our government lawyers do not think we have the legal authority to pay SNAP with certain monies we have available. And now 2 courts have issued conflicting opinions on what we can and cannot do. I do not want Americans to go hungry just because the radical Democrats refuse to do the right thing and reopen the government. Therefore, I have instructed our lawyers to ask the court to clarify how we can legally fund SNAP as soon as possible. It is already delayed enough due to the Democrats keeping the government closed through the monthly payment date. And even if we get immediate guidance, it will unfortunately be delayed while states get the money out. And he goes on, he lists Chuck Schumer's office number. But we do have this update. Despite what he claims, the Trump administration will provide partial food stamp benefits this month. Officials told a federal judge Monday, today. The administration indicated it will not tap other funds to fill the gap, meaning that the more than 40 million people enrolled in SNAP are set to receive reduced benefits. Section 32 Child Nutrition Program funds are not a contingency fund for SNAP. Patrick Penn, who oversees the SNAP program at the USDA, wrote in a sworn declaration on Monday. Using billions of dollars from child nutrition for SNAP will leave an unprecedented gap in child nutrition funding that Congress has never had to fill with annual appropriations, and USDA cannot predict what Congress will do under these circumstances, he continued, and that just broke shortly before we went live. Meanwhile, his USDA is telling grocery stores that they can't give discounts to people being hit by the freeze. And here's what the email said. USDA sent out an email to grocery stores telling them they are prohibited from offering special discounts to customers affected by the SNAP funding lapse. Catherine Rampell of the Washington Post said, I'm aware of at least 2 stores that had offered struggling customers a discount, then withdrew it after receiving that email. Now, the email referred to SNAP's equal treatment rule, which prohibits stores from discriminating against SNAP recipients by charging them higher prices or treating them more favorably than other customers by offering them specialized sales or incentives. Now, JR, it seems to me kind of ludicrous that these stores can recognize people are struggling. They might be unable to afford what they typically buy each week with their limited SNAP benefits. And that's, I think, a good thing that stores recognize that, they wanna help. And the government's coming in and saying, no, You're not allowed to help people who are struggling. What do you think about that?
Yeah, everything that shows up is a direct illustration of what is it they're looking to do. It's more chaos, it's more destruction, it's more desperation for people. The whole purpose here is to cause pain. So if you weren't dealing with enough pain, if you had only a little bit of pain, we're gonna crank it up to 50%. If you're already well above 50%, we're gonna take you to straight desperation and see what it is you can do. We're gonna do this by also ignoring a court order and acting like he ever gave a damn about giving any kind of benefits, or I'm sorry, allowing it to continue on. Even after that court order is given, you see the wording, he has to check with his attorneys to see how they're gonna pull this off. Yo, you can pull it off by all those people that told you, including many Democrats that you said are the ones that are primarily on this program, that told you how you can do it and when you could have done it. But now that it's been ordered, he still has to figure it out. The whole purpose here is to extend it as long as possible. That is, until his puppet boy, Mike Johnson, can continue to act like they're not talking with folks to reopen the government because it's those dirty Democrats, when they're the ones that haven't showed up in the town. He's admitted multiple times that Donald Trump in the White House and all of Congress, Republicans in both these, both executive and in the legislature, both want to make sure that they're not talking to anyone. How would you reopen the government if you're not looking to reopen the government? And also, we see this whole thing being set up. I'm not sure if you were getting to this at some point, but now they're looking for this criminal activity towards SNAP benefits. Suddenly, the SNAP program is overrun with waste, fraud, and abuse and all kinds of corruption. Illegals are on it. They're gonna go through all of these propaganda iterations to try and make sure that they're destroying more things for more people. Look, I guarantee you after this, if they ever decide to go some forward way with getting something moving again, the idea is to eliminate as many people as possible off the program and make more desperate people in this country. That's their objective. They're invading the country from within. This is like one of the ways. It's probably written down in Project 2025.
Yeah, it's grotesque. You see people who just need help and the government is saying, no, you're on your own.